Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome back once again, for the very first time, to the Farts and Crap Show, where today, as per usual, it's your host, Hanjo, here with an Elden Ring magic recommendation video. Hope you guys are all having a great day. And today we're going to be starting off with the OP Big Buster spells. And I'm just going to be going through not necessarily what the best ones in the game are for the highest damage, also for practicality, which is more about what my best thing is going to be. So, however, as far as damage goes, this is basically the big one. These two. And what we're going to be doing basically is Terra Magica with Comet Azure. If you haven't seen this before, this is on New Game Plus. Just to let you know, we're down here at Lobster Beach in the Liurnia of the lakes, near the foot of the four belfries. So, buffs we're going to be using are going to be provided by Azure's Glintstone Crown, which is for Comet Azure. The Ritual Sword Talisman, which also affects incantations and sorceries. The Radigan icon, shortening spell casting time. The Graven Mass Talisman, which is a boost to just sorceries in general. And the Godfrey icon, which enhances charged spells as well as skills. And my preferred staves in the game would be Prince of Death Staff, for all round, especially if you have intelligence and faith. For the Carrion Sword sorceries, which are all very good, that is kind of my go-to. And then the Carrion Regal Scepter for the full moon sorceries, if you want to do those. They're very cool and very damaging, but they are very slow and consume a lot of FP. So that's kind of where that's at. And as far as the Flask of Wonders Physic goes, it is going to be adding the boosts from the Magic Shrouding Cracked tier, temporarily boosting magic attack by roughly 20%, and Cerulean Hidden tier, which eliminates all FP consumption for roughly 10 seconds. So, if we go ahead and switch to the Prince of Death Staff, use Terra Magica, drink that flask, switch to Comet Azure, press and hold, and watch your enemies melt. And yeah, I think that's a little bit more than 10 seconds actually, so it's quite good. Quite good. So we'll go ahead and just fast travel back. We're not far, but fast traveling is a little bit faster. Tiny bit. So, go back. There we go. And of course we got everything back. Don't have to rest at the point of grace. So this time is going to be the alternative to Comet Azure, which is harder to get in the game. Meteorite of Estelle, you do have to fight a super boss for it essentially, and Comet Azure you can just pick up in the game world. So very similar process. We're just going to use Terra Magica, drink the flask, switch to Meteorite of Estelle, and hold. Yeah, it's pretty incredible. Alright, and beyond that, we're going to go through my favorite spell in the game and my highest recommendation easily, Agula's Moonblade. Agula's Moonblade is fantastic because it is a frost sorcery, all of which are boosted by the Snow Witch hat. And oh, there he is. Okay, I was like, I could have sworn I just heard a lobster. I did. And a sword sorcery, which is boosted by the Carrion Glintstone Staff. And all the other boosts, except for the Godfrey icon, are going to be active for this. as well, and the flask has already worn off, so we're not even getting that 20% boost from that. But even without that boost, as you can see, yeah, you can just one-shot, like, quite easily between like 4 and 5,000 damage. Well, that one did 3. But yeah, the hitbox is a little strange on this one because the sword has a hitbox, and oh, we didn't have the full health one. The wave has an active hitbox, so for larger enemies, it is fantastic. Even from a distance, it's okay, especially for the meager 26 FP cost. It's very, very good. So once again, we'll just fast travel back. And since I'm going to be talking about the full moon sorceries anyway, we'll just move into ranged and which ones I recommend the highest. We'll just take off Terra Magica for now. Come in, Meteor Restel. Take off the Moonblade because it's too powerful. Swift Glintstone Shard is... it's really good. Plus you can get it pretty much right at the beginning of the game. The other ones I wanted to focus on are Loretta's Great Bow. Loretta's Mastery is also good, but it doesn't actually deal that much more damage, and the FP cost is almost double. So I greatly prefer the Great Bow. As well as Glintstone Ice Crag, and is there another one? Ancient Death Rancor. Yeah. So that is going to do it for the sorceries. All the other ones are meh. Although with the right buffs and everything, Rockbreaker is an absolute beast, but it kind of also relies on a perfume, and I don't really use those. But yeah, Randy's Dark Moon is great because it's a full moon sorcery, so it is boosted by the Carrion Regal Scepter. It is also a frost sorcery, so it is also boosted by the hat, appropriately, not surprising. However, it is not a charged spell, so Godfrey Icon isn't really doing anything here. But the Graven Mask Talisman, the Radigan Icon, and the Ritual Sword Talisman are all helping as well. So, even without Terra Magica, or whatever it's called, it is quite good. And the range is very, very good. So, yeah. 1680, really not bad. Go ahead and drink the thing for the extra 20%. And that didn't even hit. Wow, okay. I mean, the range is good. There we go, like 2,000. Loretta's Great Bow is a little bit further, I believe, and it is a charged spell. And 1470. So, for a much lower FP cost, you're not really missing out on that much damage. Plus, it's very easy to... whoops. It is very easy to manually aim the Great Bow, which is a huge benefit. Just gonna carefully dodge the lobster spit. Oh, usually when you're close, he doesn't do it. Whoop. There we go. And yes, the Glintstone Ice Crag is fantastic because it is also benefiting from the hat. It doesn't really benefit from either of these other staves, so Prince of Death Staff is probably going to be the go-to. Part of the great part about Glintstone Ice Crag is you can keep walking while casting, and you can cast in very quick succession. So you can just easily pile up the damage very quickly. again, if you're up against enemies that are very quick, like to dodge a lot, it's not really going to work out. And the range isn't super good. But still, for most of the time walking around the game world, it's a very good go-to spell. Very, very good. Ancient Death Rancor has a very respectable range, and it is also boosted by the Prince of Death staff because it is one of the few death sorceries, which is very good. Uh, and it is a charge spell, so the Godfrey icon is helping. And you can cast in pretty quick succession, especially if you're not doing the charge version. And they just keep going. And he is not aggroing for some reason. No idea why. Haven't seen that happen today. Maybe it's a bug. I don't know. But yeah, very, very good. And while the Rancor is like tracking down the target, you can easily follow up with something faster like Loretta's Great Bow or whatever from huge range and just deal tons of damage. Plus, the other benefit of the Ancient Death Rancor is for most enemies, it will stagger quite well, which is honestly fantastic. The other one I should mention, I personally don't use it that much because like they miss pretty often. But for larger targets and for its range, it's really good. Rock Sling is another one worth noting. Because lobsters do have tons of poise, but if you pelt them with Rock Sling from a distance, I have been able to stagger them with it. So it is worth noting. But yeah, overall, outside of the ridiculous ones that are Comet Azure and Meteorite of Estelle, for utility, Glintstone Ice Crag, Agila's Moonblade, and Loretta's Great Bow. Like, just with these three, you're good. Like, it's really all the sorcery you need, honestly. On to incantations real quick, because I did want to keep this to about a 20-minute episode, but I wanted to cover all the important bits that I really wanted to talk about. Of course, you got your heals and your buffs. However, some of the best buffs, in my opinion, would have to be Flame Grant Me Strength and Black Flame Protection. Black Flame's protection is so good because it gives you like an extra 30% of damage negation, which is so helpful. And Flame Grant Me Strength not only buffs fire incantations, pyromancies, whatever, same thing. It also gives you extra physical attack, which is pretty amazing, pretty great. But yeah, there's quite a few worth noting. Black Blade, not as good as I was hoping it would be. Litany of Proper Death is very helpful for fighting the Death Birds, those big nasty enemies that only come out at night in most areas, except for the Consecrated Snowfield, which time of day doesn't matter. Let's see, what else? Some of the lightning ones are really good. Ancient Dragon Lightning Strike is fantastic, as well as Frozen Lightning Spear, which I believe is also boosted by the hat, the Ranny's hat, whatever. As far as fire goes, Giant's Flame Take Thee, wonderful. Probably the best fire projectile. as well as Burn O Flame, really, really good. With an honorable mention to Black Flame. And Black Flame's not as good though. Stoner Cure, Guring? I don't know. I don't remember how to pronounce that. And of course, the best spell in the game, Swarm of Flies. Which I know I can't use it right now because I don't have the arcane, but we have a piece of equipment to change that. So, we don't need staves for this, we need sacred seals. And my go-to is the Golden Order Seal. However, if you're using the blood incantations, Dragon Communion Seal is the best one because it actually has S scaling with arcane, which is very unique for a Sacred Seal. And yeah, it won't work as well for this build because my arcane is very low right now. We're all like intelligence and faith, being at 70 and 54 respectively. So the Golden Order Seal for this build is the best because it has A on intelligence and faith scaling to augment those incantations. So that's very good. Gonna keep the Snow Witch hat on real briefly for the ice lightning, frozen lightning, whatever you want to call it. Flock's Canvas Talisman is going to be very, very helpful here. And that's pretty much all we need for the time being. And again, Flame Grant Me Strength is, as far as spells go, I think only applies to the fire incantations, whereas Black Flame Protection is going to make us a lot harder to damage from the lobsters. So, Ancient Dragon Lightning Strike is super good. From a distance, it kind of has like a little bit of a sweet spot kind of thing. So if you're up close, yeah, it deals a lot of damage, but it can also deal a lot of damage from a distance. Oh, it actually got that guy too. Specifically about this? Yeah, about there. Whereas Frozen Lightning Spear is very beneficial. It's a very good spell, but you have to be close to your target. You can be a little further away, but that initial stab into the ground does some extra damage. And it also depends on the size of the target. Like, it's especially good for larger enemies. So yeah, like an initial 1,000 and then another like 2,000-ish usually, maybe 3. I've seen it do like 4,000, but yeah, like right there, 3,600. And of course we could change the Flask of Wondrous Physic to increase lightning damage as well. Put on Flame Grant Me Strength, and Flame Grant Me a second as well, hopefully. So we don't get absolutely decimated. Gotta wait for an opening to do Burn O Flame, but there it is. And we can charge it, so Godfrey's icon is going to help. And usually that one-shots him. Not sure why it didn't. But good old rock. And yeah, the rocks are very fast. Very, very good. It's like 1,000 per. And the stamina cost is pretty high, but if you're far enough away from your target, like, you don't use stamina unless you're in combat. So sometimes you can throw those first couple for free, which is quite helpful. And lastly, did we get to all of them? Is it Swarm of Flies time? No, Giant's Flame Take Thee I didn't get to. Right? Yeah. Correct. Just go into Memorize Spell real quick, make sure I'm not forgetting anything. Ancient Dragon Lightning Snake, yep. Yep. Swarm of flies, and you know what? We'll do Black Blade too. And yeah, that's all of them. Another very helpful one is Bestial Vitality, which just slowly restores HP, and it only costs 18 FP. Pest Threads is also very situational, but pretty good. But I'm not really here to talk about the pretty good spells. And Black Blade is by far, I would say, the coolest looking incantation. But yeah, as far as like actual utility goes, I don't think it's that good. But I'm also going to have a second video about my favorite weapon skills in the game. So be sure to stay tuned if you guys are interested in that. But oh yeah, I was going to change the Flask of Wonders. Whatever, it doesn't matter. Alright, so we'll go Flame Grant Me Strength. And then Giant's Flame Take Me. As you can see, almost 2,000 damage. Yeah, quite good. And especially if you are far away from your target, you can actually like arc the spell a little bit and still hit, because like the explosion on it, it's a big area when it's fully charged. It's pretty cool. So if you're like above your enemy or you're fighting, you're like, oh no, I'm kind of screwed. You can go climb a mountain real quick and throw fireballs down on them. It's pretty effective. So this guy, are we in lock-on range? We are. Okay. I think you can even do full range on the... Yeah, let's try from here. Nope, that didn't do it. Let's try less of an arc. Nope. Enough. Oh, that did get the explosion. Did not get the distance though. But yeah, like the ball itself is quite heavy, so it's not really meant for that. But if you aim carefully, you can... Ah, my goodness. Alright. It's kind of hard to do this at night too, because it's harder to like judge distances. There we go. Got it. He's like, what the hell? What was that? And yeah, Black Blade, super cool looking. But yeah, it's so slow. Like, by the time you actually hit, it's not, your enemy's typically already moved out of the way, so... And like, yeah, you have a little bit of super armor during it, and you can do a follow-up attack on it if you have the FP for it. But super armor can sometimes be a bad thing. Sometimes it's better just to like cast and then like bounce, you know? So let's go back real quick. On the way back, I'm going to switch our hat to the Silver Tear Mask, which raises Arcane by a whopping 8. So while this is equipped, we will be able to cast Swarm of Flies. With the Dragon Communion Seal, whatever it's called. Something. And this one is not going to be boosted by the Godfrey icon, but it can be boosted by the Lord of Blood's exultation. When something bleeds nearby, it increases your damage output. So we can use all of these in conjunction with Flame Grant Me Strength, and even at a low, like we are just above like the minimum for Arcane, it will still be pretty devastating. Not as much on lobsters because they don't really stagger from blood loss like most enemies do, and bosses even. But the range on it is still very good. So, and the FP cost is quite low. Starts out small. Oops. And I don't think they're very susceptible to blood, actually. So not really the best enemies to show this on, but believe me, it's Swarm of Flies is like one of the most OP things. It helps if you have a respectable arcane stat, like 40 or 50, something like that. This is not really the best with this build, per se, but let's go ahead and give Black Blade one more try before we get going. Yeah, only about 1,000, and then the HP drain is not that good. I completely went through all of our oh my goodness. Oh, I took off the Godfrey icon, right? I was like, that's less than it should be. There we go. I'll swap this back to wherever the big hat is. There we go. Cool. But yeah, that's gonna do it for this video, guys. Those are the spells I would recommend. And for the most part, in case you guys are wondering what I typically play with, it's typically these two. Carrying Glintstone Staff and Golden Order Seal. Graven Mass Talisman, and honestly I don't even really use the Ritual Sword Talisman. But if you are casting at full HP most of the time, then it might be better than the Graven Mass Talisman? Ritual Sword Talisman? I think so. I think so. Because I think, yeah, and just how the game works and testing and from what I've heard from other people, that sounds right. But, yeah, it's typically it. Typically Erdtree's favor on there. Because, yeah, carrying Glintstone Staff, scaling is 310 in my current build, 340 with a Prince of Death Staff, both maxed out. It's not quite as good, but it's actually better for Agila's Moonblade. And as I said before, Agila's Moonblade is basically, in my opinion, the best sorcery in the game. For the game in general, it's like has the best utility because of the fast cast time, the wide range, the arc, everything about it. And especially for most of the bosses in the game, it is devastating to them. So, for the most part, yeah, frost sorceries are super good. Glintstone Ice Crag, Agila's Moonblade will just end things. And then Loretta's Great Bow. Most of the time, Black Flame Protection. Flame Grant Me Strength is really good, especially when combined with bleed weapons, as well as Giant's Flame take the Burno Flame, and if one other one I had to pick would be Ancient Death Rancor. And that's basically what I'd be using, although I'd have Ancient Death Rancor with the other sorceries and incantations with them as well, but if you put it at the end, it wraps back around, so it doesn't really matter as much. But Yeah, thank you all for joining me. Greatly appreciate it. Hope you guys had a good time. Let me know what your favorite sorceries and incantations are in the comments down below. And I didn't mention the dragon communion stuff because none of it is that great in my experience. But again, these are my recommendations. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed. Liking and subscribing always helps. Never ask for all that other stuff. But many thanks before we go to the Farce and Crap Show members. Right now it's just Novalis Draconis. But if you want to check out the join button down below and, become a member, that's always appreciated. And we got streams every week, videos every day, all that good stuff. So stay tuned, and there will be more streams and videos. Till next time, everybody. Take care.